September is a pivotal month for smallholders, where winter plans are either realised or thwarted. With its abundant harvests and unexpected frosts, September challenges every smallholder's resilience. This month can determine the success or the failure of the upcoming winter. Our morning routines are adapting to the later sunrise. Walking down to feed the animals after the short heat of the summer now sees the grass laden with a heavy morning dew as our sandals transition to those waterproof wellies. Clinging on to the remains of summer though, we are reminded that this is just a transition period. We're not completely in autumn yet. So we continue to see the animals in the fields with the horses grazing and the pigs enjoying their last days with us. September is a very busy month for us of planning and doing, and sees our attentions turn to preserving and the harvest and planning for the harsher months ahead. Food and warmth for both us and the animals is key, so we'll shortly be ordering the feed and bedding for the animals outside, oil for us in the house for the switching of the Arga back on later in the month, and ensuring that the log piles are ready for us to use both indoors and outdoors, because we'll be giving us plenty of story time around the fire in those cosy dark winter evenings. September is a month usually when our pigs go to the abattoir and the freezers and pantry get restocked with a lot of the food that we grow here on the smallholding. We're working towards that today, and tonight we're going to be cooking our first meal of September outside over the open fire. On a morning, I've noticed that the geese overhead have been much more active as they prepare to migrate. The squirrels, as we're looking out the window, are busy gathering their nuts, driving the dogs absolutely wild. And on an evening when we're locking up, got to be careful that you don't stand on Mr. or Mrs. Hedgehog out for their evening stroll. We've been noticing our apple trees are really laden with fruit this year, so a fantastic crop awaits us in September. The leaves are starting to change on all of the trees from green to golden as autumn is barging its way in already. So let's get started with one of the season's most abundant harvests, and better still, it's completely free.
Well, welcome back to another video, everyone. It's mid-September here on the Smallholding and we've got lots to get through. So first job on the agenda this morning is to pick all the apples and get them pressed, which this year we've had an abundance of them. So this morning I've just dug all this out the garage, which has been in there about 3 years, because for the past 3 years we haven't had hardly any harvest on the eaten apples. Cooking apples have been doing okay, but the eaten apples have been non-existent really. So for 3 years this has just been sat in the garage. So I've got it all out, give it all a good clean, and we're going to take you over and show you what we're going to be picking and what we're going to be pressing. Come on, Roddy. Right, well this is our little orchard that we have with 4 well-established apple trees. We've got these 2 here just behind me. These are our eaten apple trees which produce these red apples here. And then right behind me in the distance there's 2 cooking apple trees. We have got the chickens running around here as well, so they feed off all any of the windfall apples that fall off, they feed them. We've also been picking buckets over the last couple of weeks and feeding them to the pigs. So what's left, there's still plenty of lovely juicy apples on there for us. So we're going to pretty much, well, we're going to clear all this tree and we're going to clear most of the ripe ones on that tree, and then we'll get all them pressed and see how much we get out of them. Can you reach them ones? Right, well that's a pretty decent haul off them 2 trees. We've absolutely stripped that one, which are mainly the red ones, and then we've took the ripest ones off this tree. We haven't touched any of the ones behind Tracy. If she wants to just turn around, you can see how lush they are with apples, but they're all cooking apples, so they all go into apple pie fillings and other stuff like that, apple sauce. So we're just going to leave them for now, concentrate on the eating apples. So we're going to get them over to the greenhouse, get them rinsed off, and then we'll take them over and start processing them. Let's roll. Right, well, we've picked a barrel load. I'm chuffed to bits with the apples, especially when you get ones like that. Look at the size of that bad boy. So there's more to get if we need them, but I think this will be enough to be getting on with. See how much juice we get out of this at the minute. So I'll just give you a quick run through the setup. So what we're going to do with these, we're going to cut the bad bits off and put them in the black bucket there. They'll just go straight to the pigs. Then we're going to cut the rest in half, which will go in this bucket. And then we're going to mash them through this masher into this bucket and then run them through the press back into the bucket that we put them in when we cut them in half. And then when we get all the juice, we're going to let it settle and then strain it into these, I think the 1 litre tubs for the freezer. So I'm hoping out of all that, we should get a few litres, but we shall see.
So pigs in the black.
And if he isn't any bad, we should just cut them in.
So like that, just shut all of that in.
Yeah.
And half's enough for the, small enough for the thingy. So you taking the likes of that off?
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't. I'd just leave that. It's been washed. Just shove it in. You're all right. It's almost a shame to be just juicing them, isn't it? Oh, we'll keep some then.
No, right, well, we've cut up a third of a barrow. We haven't got much waste for the pigs, so they'll be disappointed. But now we've run out of space, so we're going to start pulping this through into this bucket, and then we'll start again filling up that bucket, because there should be less volume in there when it's pulped.
I wonder if it takes my hands
off. Take your hands off. Just put a bit of pressure on. I'll put your hand in one of them buckets. I'm going to
put this here so I can...
Put your hand in one of them buckets like that.
Do this, look. No. This is ridiculous. It just can't work at Stephen's speed.
Right, well, we've got a bucket full mashed, so we're going to start pressing that before we start cutting the others up. Now, I couldn't find the original net that came with this, and it's got bigger holes in, so we had this one, but it's really fine, so I'm not going to sure how it's going to work. But in order for it to get in, I need to cut a hole in the middle so that it threads over the top, turn it into a bag, and then start emptying the pulp in. As you can see there, all the juice is gathering in the bottom through the weight of the apples. So what I'll do when we finished pulping probably 2 or 3 or 4 bags, maybe with all the apples, we'll empty it all out, clean it all out and juice the juice last, so we're just getting it every drop we can. Start with. Fact, I remember from before. I think I remember from before. I cut these extra blocks because once you go so far below there with the stuff that comes with it, which is just that and that, you soon get below the line there, so it doesn't press anymore. So then you just add these extra blocks onto it just to press it down a bit further. So I think we'll start with that as it is, and we'll see how we get on. Where's the? Oh, the juice is starting to run out. As you can see there now, we're down to its limit, so we're pressing on the wood, and there's still a lot more pressing it can get, so that's why I cut them logs before to get it on. So I'll just spin that back up, put the logs on, and then give it another press. On there. On there.
green as well, you know.
Get one green. Doesn't matter what colour it is like. We're going to leave that drain a bit, get on with cutting the rest of the apples up, and then come back and give it another press down. Right, so we're nearly on finishing the last of a couple of buckets, which has made nearly 2 full buckets of pulp. Doing this as a workout. Don't give any top tips. Roll the handle slowly rather than doing this because it just springs the apples everywhere, and cut them as small as you can. Don't just leave them in halves because it doesn't grip them. That's if you've got one of this type anyway. So yeah, Stevie's top tips for you. Beautiful. Right, well that's the second bucket on its last press. We're just on just over 10 litres, that's about 18 pints, and we've got a bucket of very dry, actually drier than I thought it was going to be, pulp, which we're going to go down and feed to the pigs because we need to measure them and weigh them, which will show you what we do when we're down there, and we need to tag them because they're nearly ready for the off. Let's go.
Well, September is very much a transition month for us here on the Smallholding as it comes to the end of summer, if we've actually had one this year, and moves into more autumn and winter, but we're always prepping for winter. Now, in September, generally that's the month when our pigs go to the abattoir, as Stephen's just alluded to. We have sent them earlier, I think was it last year or the year before that we sent them, because it was so hot that we ended up moving them on. They were at a size that we were happy with. But we're going to see today how they're doing and if that's imminent for the next couple of weeks. We're already seeing the leaves on the floor. Autumn's definitely elbowing its way in. Now someone else is thinking that this is for them, so you might get beaten up here, Steve. Go on, watch your back.
You off? Oh, Mr. Pigglesworth. You go.
You'll have to put that right out of the way because they'll be over the fence for it. Flies bad today. Oh, that was nice.
Right, these guys are only a couple of weeks off going to be sent to the abattoir and ready for the freezer. So we just need to weigh them to make sure we're going to get as much back as we can. Now, we obviously can't stick them on the scale to weigh them, so we just use a fabric tape measure to weigh them. And do a few calculations and you get the weight in pounds, and then we'll just divide it by 2.2 to give us it in kilos. So all we do is we want the girth, so you just go underneath the armpits and around the top of the shoulders, and pull it like nice and firm. So that one's 45 inches. So 45 inches girth, and then you go from the base of the tail to just between the ears. So we get a quick one there, which is 55. So we do 45. So you do 45 times 45 times 55 divided by 400, which will give you it in pounds. That's 278 pounds. So if you divide that by 2.2 to get it in kilos, which is 126 kilos, because this is the biggest one. We're not going to bother doing the smallest one because obviously they have to go together anyway, so we just do the biggest one. That's 126 kilos. You probably lose about 30% roughly on all the waste. So if we just do minus 30% off there, and it gives us 88 kilos. So that's perfect size for a bacon pig. Hopefully there won't be too much fat on. I can still slightly see the ribs, so there shouldn't be too much fat on. The hams are looking spot on. We've never had these pigs before, so these pigs seem a lot more taller rather than wider than the pigs we've had before. So hopefully they won't be too fat once we take them down. Like I say, we've never had this type before, so we're unknown territory to what they'll be like once we get into them. But we'll go through all that with you once the time comes. But yeah, I'd say even a week. Maybe we try and get them booked in, try and get something sorted out. But a week or two and these guys will be unfortunately leaving us. But they've been lovely to have. So now we just need to tag the ears and get them registered to us and ready for the off. Right, so we've just come down to tag the ears for the pigs, because when they go to the abattoir, every small holding has to have its own unique number.
Sorry, hang on. It's not for you.
Thanks for that.
Mobbed.
Let's put it on there. Right, we've just been up to get some more food, because for this next task they're going to need distracting. So we've just come to put the ear tags in for when they go to the slaughterhouse. Now every small holding in the UK has to have its unique number that matches your small holding, so that the movement of the animals can be tracked. So our number's on here, that when they put it in the computer, it'll pull up our address and everything we have on the property. So we're just going to load the machine up and get them tagged. We've never done this before, so this is a first for us, so a first for you. Ready?
Yeah, but watch your legs.
Save some of that. Here goes nothing. So luckily these guys have got big floppy ears, so it should go in no problem. Oh. Good lad. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, I feel so bad.
There you go, son.
Well done. Good job.
Is it in? All right. Yeah. Ah, you're a good boy. Sorry, son. Right.
I jumped a mile.
Next one. Oh, hang on, let me get loaded up first.
So I guess it's making sure that you get it firmly in and clear straight away, otherwise they're going to be running around with that tool attached to them, aren't they? We did get 4 just in case. We
have had pigs before that, luckily, when we went to load them onto the truck last year, the ear tags actually came out, but we found them, because the abattoir won't accept them if they don't have the ear tags in. But luckily we found them, which was alright, so that's why we've waited until now to put them in.
Some people wait until they're loading, actually go in on the trailer, don't they, and do them as they're getting on the trailer, but we want one less thing to worry about on loading day. Now watch your legs again, you got away with it the first time.
Right, son. Let's have a look at your log. Oh. Oh. Come on. Oh, come on. Good boy. Hang on. Come here. There you go. It's in.
Is it on okay?
Yeah.
Give him a pat.
Sorry, son. You're a bit tougher. Get some food. Have a look. I know you don't like that now, do you? Let's have a look.
Is it all safe and secure?
Yeah, that's in there.
Oh, good boy.
Whew.
Oh, he's just got head-butted.
I didn't like doing that, but it has to be a first time for everything, I suppose.
Well done. Good job.
There you go, lads. There you go, lads. There you go, son. Whoa, there you go.
Right, your turn, Sonic. You'd never catch him.
Right, well, that's it for these guys. All the jobs are done for them. So now we just keep feeding them up, keep them happy until the time of departure arrives, which will probably be in a couple of weeks. We'll try and get them in as soon as possible because, like I said, they are up to size, especially that one there. So we'll get them in as soon as possible. And that's it for them. We have been through the freezers this morning to see how we're getting on with last year's pigs. We've literally nearly depleted it. We've got a couple of pork joints left. We have been rationing it, though, because we knew we'd be running short. Got a couple of pork joints left, a little bit of mince and a little bit of sausage meat, and that's about it. So these guys will be a welcome addition to the freezers when the time comes.
So like Stephen says, that's the pigs finished for today. Now we'll get back and feed those later on, but they only have 2 meals a day, so that was a bit of a bonus feed for them. Fingers crossed there's, those ear tags have got no infections and it went in nice and cleanly, so we should be good there. Now we need to get the apples finished up, what we started this morning. We did say, Stephen alluded to the freezers, they're going to be going in the freezers. We're not going to be pressure canning those or anything like that. So I've made some space for those guys. And then once we finish doing that, we're heading over to the hard standing area over here because we need to think about preparing that for winter too.
Right, well, we've finished the pressing of the apples and we've got just over 10 litres, maybe 11 litres of juice. So we're just going to leave that to one side for a couple of hours, let it all settle, and then we're going to pour it through some muslin cloth into these tubs and then get it in the freezer. Fresh apple juice. Woohoo! Right, next job. Right, we've just come to get the outside space ready for the winter for the horses. So when we bring the horses in, when the land starts to get a bit wet and a bit muddy, this is where we turn them out on here. So we're just going to sort the perimeter out of it, pull all the nettles and everything out of there. This year we've got some old stable mats there which we're going to put down because we feed them out here as well. So we hang hair nets off the fence, but as the year goes on, they just get more and more waste on the floor, and then the grass in the summer is a nightmare that grows through there. So this year we're going to try a few mats down to try and save that problem. Over here, we put this fence up at the beginning of the year, which was a problem with us with the horses because they just kept going into there, and we just had like a weak bit of electric fencing up. So we've replaced that with a nice solid fence, so that'll keep them off that bit. So then the only other problem is that we have is over here towards the greenhouse, which obviously for obvious reasons we try and keep them away from the greenhouse. And normally we put electric fencing, but it's not electrified, stuck in the grass round there and round here up to the barn door there. So what we're thinking we might do, so don't get excited, Trace, is rerun that fence, or just take that fence down and put a new fence around the perimeter here, around these curbstones, put a gate in here, and then run it to the barn door there, and maybe put a square veg patch in that bit as well to utilise all the space. So that might be a plan for that area. And then all we have to do is another two things. We like to keep the barn open as well for the winter while we're doing our jobs in the barn, like cleaning out the horses, cleaning out the chickens and stuff like that. But when the horses are out here, if we leave the barn open, they just run in and create chaos. So we need to figure out some type of netting or some type of roller mesh or something, so that when we open the door we can just put the mesh up and keep them away from there. And then something to block this area off here going down to where we park cars. We'll have to put something across there that can be semi-permanent, because we don't really bring the cars up and down here, so that can be semi-permanent there. Everything else is pretty much fenced off. So a few things to think about, but for now we'll just get on. We're taking all them weeds down, probably cut back some of that, what is it, that fir tree that's overhanging the fence there, and just tidy it up a bit. Well, I don't know if you can see what we've done, but we've cut all the trees back that were falling down and overhanging the car park, and we've trimmed all them back to the fence. Some of the fence was snapped off where the trees actually fell through it, so we've secured that back on. Now we've just got to get the mats, because normally when the horses come out in the winter, we hang a hay net off that post in the corner and a hay net off that post over there. So we're just going to get the mats that we've got there. I think we've got maybe 5 or 6, and create a little area to catch all the hay that drops out, and it'll give them a bit more comfort to stand on instead of standing on all this rough stones. Spot side up. Probably a spot side up.
Would you believe that we actually had that first frost yesterday morning, I think it was. Look at this, blue skies, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it must be 20 plus degrees now, it's scorching hot. I'm just keeping an eye on the dog running off, doing something. Anyway, all of this is now done, mats are down, so this is going to be a real big help in the winter. It's more so for keeping the area to be able to sweep it and make sure that the hay doesn't end up just all over the floor, and then it makes it slippy for the horses, not to mention all the grass that grows back through from the hay seeds that are there. So this is going to be a big help, as I say. We did consider putting them like 2 and 2s, but I think that they'll be okay with the back feet on there, and it just makes it so that all the weeds along the fence will be suppressed. So that's a really good job done. I'm going to go and take this barrow of all of the stuff that we've raked up. I'm going to go and put that in our little bonfire pile that we've got going on down the bottom there, and then I think that's the outside priority jobs done that we were talking about getting done today. It really is hard to believe, looking out today at how sunny it is. And although it's really breezy, and hopefully it's not been too windy on because we've had the microphones on, that autumn and winter is on its way. I mean, if you'd have asked me that yesterday or the day before, If you'd have asked me that yesterday or the day before, 100% I would have said that summer is gone, but apparently we're on for an Indian summer. You hear that term bandied about all the time, don't you, an Indian summer? But yeah, it's supposed to be a nice week coming up of weather. So although the garden has suffered because of the sheep, because of the frost that we had, and we've already got plants that have blackened off because of that, fingers crossed it'll still have a good few growing weeks, because the middle of September for the garden to finish is just not acceptable. I need to write a strongly worded letter on that one, I think. Right, I'm going to take this. Buster, hey, no, cheeky. I'm going to take this barrow and we'll see what we get up to. Just before we go and finish up with those apples, now that all of that juice will hopefully have settled and any sediment will be at the bottom. It's only been a couple of hours, but fingers crossed that should be okay. We're going to go and do that, but just before that, we've actually had the goats cleaned out this morning, so my daughter's back full time. We've got the full squad today, and she's cleaned the goats out, and there's a barrow here that I'm going to use. I'm going to put it in one of the beds that we've just harvested all the onions from, and then I'm going to fill that up with rotted horse manure. On top of that, the goat bedding can go on absolutely fine. It's cold manure, and then at least that'll give us more bedding and more layers to plant in next year for next year's crops, and start thinking about getting these beds and this garden ready for 2025 growing.
Right, well, this has been settling now for a couple of hours, so we're going to run it through a muslin cloth, through a sieve, into that jug, and then decant it into these tubs and get it in the freezer. See how much we get. Look at that. Can't see the jug.
It's halfway.
Coolio. How many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Right, so we've got 11 litres of pure apple juice, and we've just kept this last bit because this is the bottom of the barrel, so it's a bit more cloudy, a bit more sedimenty in the bottom of there. Might run it through again, actually. So, do you want to run it through again and we'll have a taste?
Can taste it.
What we're running to get a clean, pass that. Clean one away.
What's wrong with that one?
It's that stuff in it. So, give it another run through here. And then
It's only a litre tub, remember.
right, we'll keep this one now because it's a bit, like I say, a bit sedimenty, if that's a word. So let's give it a whirl. I hope it's alright. This is a lot to drink. Perfect. Actually, it's pretty perfect. Yumski.
It's really nice, actually. It's not as sweet, is it?
No, it's lovely.
Good job. Well, now those jobs are done, it's time to think about what we're going to have for our evening meal. And of course, being a weekend especially, we don't always get to do this during the week, but we are going to have something from the garden. I'm going to grab some of the potatoes. We need to do the full big potato harvest, but we have just been eating them from the garden as when we need them. That's been working out fine. Obviously we'll only do that for so long, because over the winter here, although a lot of people can keep the potatoes in the ground over the winter, they might end up getting slug damaged and we'll end up losing some. So we will be harvesting those. Whether or not we'll get to that tomorrow or whatever, we shall see. But for now, we're going to get the fire going. I've got some meat out of the freezer. We're actually going to have some lamb tonight, and I'm going to grab the potatoes. We've already got onions, carrots, and just have a really hearty lamb stew.